Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight. I'm Takela, this is Jessica, and this is Larry. And welcome to our Facebook Live event for our first time homebuyers class. Tonight we're going to be offering you some insight on what it takes to buy your very first home, or maybe even your second if it's been a little bit of some time. And Larry is joining us to talk about the financial side of things. Larry Wisher from Caliber Home Loans. Can you tell us, thank you for being with us.
Yes, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your history in the mortgage world?
Yeah, so born and raised in Portland, been lending since 1992, so I think I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting, I mean, things have obviously settled since the Great Recession, a well-needed correction in my opinion, just not everything else that went with that, but still, the misnomer out there is harder to qualify for a home loan today. Mm-hmm. It is for, you know, some aspects, but for the most part, we can work around and navigate through a lot of the water. So
yeah, Great. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
It's good to have you here. And Jessica and I, of course, from That Portland Life, are both realtors at Cascade Sotheby's International. We both love some good food and good wine. Cheers, by the way. I hope you brought some wine with you as well to join us tonight while we talk through all of these talking points. It's more fun to do it in your pajamas and with wine in front of you.
Absolutely. So we're going to wait just a couple of minutes and let some more people jump on so that they can be along here with us. I figure while we're waiting, we can just go a little bit more in depth about who we are. So I got my real estate license in 2010, and I lived in Portland since 2009. I lived in Oregon since 1998, so I'm basically a local. I grew up in Hood River and then went to school at U of O. I studied architecture, and then just decided that my passion was way more focused on working with people. So real estate really was just a good fit because I get that like love of homes and love of people. It's been really great.
Nice. Yeah. My background, I grew up in the Midwest, but my family's from Oregon. I've been out here for about 10 years. I mostly came out because of the amazing outdoors. I love the camping and the hiking and backpacking opportunities and all of that. I was a teacher for a long time. I served in the Peace Corps for 2.5 years in Peru. So once I got back from serving there, I kind of decided that I wanted to take my love of, again, working with people. And I also always just loved architecture and design. So I wanted to take that and be able to, you know, help people find their dream houses with my skill set. Yeah.
Great.
And how about you? What do you do in
kinda,
this area? You're from Portland originally, right?
Yep, local here.
Born and raised.
Yep, couple kids. Oldest daughter's already moved out, you know.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, which is good. She's almost up to payroll.
Yeah.
And then we have a junior in high school, so he keeps us busy. But yeah,
Nice.
love Portland.
Awesome. Perfect.
So we're gonna go ahead and get things kicked off. Feel free to jump in with any questions at any point, and then we'll get to them in a little bit. So the first thing that we're going to go through is just kind of the basic process of buying a house, just step by step what you need so that you have kind of a roadmap for what we're looking at here. The very first thing that you need to do is to meet with a lender and to meet with a realtor so that you can go through,
Here we are.
How much you can afford in a house, kind of what your basic criteria for a home are, and then what your timeline to move is. The really good news is that we're here already. Mm-hmm. So you're already kind of at this step. So you can just check one right off of that list already.
Perfect. And then once you've assembled your dream team, we are going to help you and we're going to get started looking at homes, which is the super fun part. And I would say the important thing to remember during this step is that there's not a right number of houses to look at. There are some people who are going to fall immediately in love with the very first home they walk into, and that's their house. Other people, sometimes it's going to take a lot longer, and they're going to want to see maybe 20 houses, maybe 30 houses before they really find like the perfect one. Whatever is your journey is the right move to go with for you.
So once you do find that dream house, we are going to write an offer. And we will sit down with you to go through all the specifics of the contract. It's about 14 pages. And then we're going to go through all the biggest negotiating points, like price point and closing date and possession date, and then any concessions that you want to ask for. we're going to negotiate on your behalf at that point, back and forth with the seller. Sometimes it takes one time, sometimes it takes 3 or 4 times until everyone in the transaction is satisfied.
Yeah. And then the next thing that we're going to do is order our inspections. Once, we're pending on the home, everyone's happy, we're going to order inspections. And since every house is different, the inspections we're going to order are also going to be different. But a general rule of thumb is that we're going to want a full house inspection, as well as a sewer scope, and oftentimes in this area, a radon test.
Mm-hmm.
But if you end up falling in love with your dream home, out in a rural countryside, then we might also have to do a well water test or search for a decommissioned oil tank or things like that. But those are specifics that we can get into. General rule of thumb is to budget about $1,000 for the basic inspections, and then we can kind of add on from there for the specific house.
Yeah. So the inspection period usually lasts 2 weeks. We have that 2 weeks to have all the inspections and negotiate repairs. So once we get the inspection report back, we will go through the list with you of everything that came up and negotiate the repairs. Whatever you think is important, we can definitely ask the seller for. You want to keep in mind that we can't ask for upgrades. So if there's a very old water heater that's working, we're not going to ask the seller to replace it.
No gold faucets?
I know.
Or like brand new fixtures. Yeah, exactly.
If only. But we will go through the list with you because it usually is very long and daunting, even on a brand new house, and tell you, what are really big things that we definitely want to ask for, and what are maybe some things that you can figure out after closing.
Yeah. And then once that's all been figured out, the next major step is going to be the appraisal, which is the step in which your lender is going to send someone to the house to make sure that the house is worth what you are paying for it. And so that step, most often, the appraisal comes back fine, right, Larry?
Yeah, for the most part in the Portland Metro. Yeah,
it's going to come back at cost, generally speaking. Once in a while, though, it'll come back a little low. And in that case, we kind of have to do a little bit of renegotiation in terms of maybe price point, or maybe in terms of how much funds we can bring to the transaction. Or maybe at that point you think, I think we're going to walk away from this altogether. That might happen too. But if that situation were to arise, of course, we would talk through all the options in detail with you to really figure out what's the best decision for you in that case.
So our last big step is to sign all the closing documents. So we're going to meet with our escrow officer. You'll already know what funds you need to bring to closing because your lender's going to forward you all those numbers up front, so there's not going to be any surprises. We're going to sign lots and lots of documents, including the deed to your new house. And then once everything's signed, it goes back to your lender to release the loan amount to the city, and then it's going to record. And then we're going to meet at the house to give you keys at whatever date that we agreed upon on the sales contract.
And celebration time.
Yeah, exactly.
You're officially a homeowner.
Yay!
That's simple.
1, 2, 3 ABCs, definitely. No, I know it can kind of sound like a lot sometimes, but that's actually what we are here for. That is our job, is to kind of walk you through it step by step and make it really as easy on you as possible. And if you ever want to just sit down and talk more specifics about any of those steps, feel free to, reach out to us. We're always happy to sit down and meet with you and talk one-on-one about what it takes.
Absolutely. So we did get a couple of questions up front from some of our posts that we've been posting before we did the video. The first one is, should I rent or buy?
Which is a huge question that we get all the time. And actually, I think my personal opinion is that depends on your specific circumstances, but I think maybe Larry could talk a little bit about sort of the differences between renting and buying from a standpoint of like equity and investment.
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect.
So as we know, when you rent, you're just paying your rent to a landlord, and which the landlord probably owns a property, and so you're paying for that landlord's mortgage, right? But you're not getting any other advantage of that rent, and it does add up over time, as we know. I like to have my new buyers do a little exercise, tally up your rent for the last 12 to 24 months, and it's glaring. It is shocking, right? and remember, the rent we pay after taxes, right? So it hurts. But the nice thing is, if you can, afford a home, right? Tons of advantages. You get, tax advantages. You're able to depreciate the property over time. You know, and then the other thing too is that you know, you're relying on the appreciation in the home. I mean, we've been fortunate in the Pacific Northwest that our homes have continued to appreciate. Even when the Great Recession hit, we didn't get killed as bad as some of the other areas like Arizona
Yeah.
and Florida and so
Oh,
forth.
yeah.
But yeah, so there's many advantages to purchasing a home, and then finally to call, you know, place yours,
Yeah.
you know, because, you know, it's just, you know, we're very pro home buyer, but it's only because, right, you know, not only because this is our living, but it's just, it makes so much sense too. So.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, if you're renting, basically that money is just always going away and never doing anything to benefit you, right? Whereas if you own your home, then you're actually making money. It's an investment you get to live in,
Correct.
right?
Yes,
It's like the best investment because it's not like some stock market fund way far away that you can't see and can't control. It's like this is your home, but it's also earning you money steadily over time.
That's correct.
Right?
In the form
Which
of
is pretty
equity.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, in the form of equity.
And then we like to use the old saying, you know, they're not building more dirt, right?
Right.
So, I mean, we can talk to our parents who purchased homes 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's still worth more than it was back then.
Yeah. Definitely. Awesome. So another question that we got actually from several different people was, what is the market doing right now?
Yep. So that's a really great question. It's a little bit area specific depending on where you're wanting to look. But in general, we're still seeing homes sell pretty quickly. A lot of homes are still getting multiple offers, especially if you're under that $500,000 range. It's still pretty competitive. Things are not selling anywhere near as quickly as they were last year, so we're headed towards a buyer's market, but we should continue to have a pretty strong spring, and then we'll slow down a little in summer like we always do, a little bit more in fall like we always do, and then it'll probably pick up again next spring. While many people do try and kind of time the market and when's the perfect time to buy, it's really a personal decision for you because you're never going to hit it exactly right. You want to buy a house when it makes sense for you to buy a house. You want it to be this like, I'm ready to move, I need to get out of my place, and now I have this.
Yeah. I like it. Great answer.
And you need a place to live. So it's not like you're buying and then trying to flip it, right? So you need a place to live.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, stop paying rent for sure. So the other question that we got right beforehand was, someone asked, do I make enough money to buy a house? And what do I have to have for a down payment? Which again, I feel like is maybe an awesome question for you, Larry.
Great.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, really the two big components that I ask, you know, prospective buyers is, number one, what is the maximum monthly house payment you can afford? So, you know, if you're paying $1,500 a month rent today and you tell me it's $1,500, that's what I write down. And then the second component is, you know, what down payment availability do you have? And so it's not necessarily that you have to have your own funds, your own money, but because there are programs that will allow you to get a gift from family. You're allowed to borrow from like a 401k, which I work with a lot of financial advisors. They highly recommend if the proceeds are being used towards to purchase a home, right? But yeah, there are some programs in the city of Portland, this is unique to Portland, where you can get in with as little as about $1,000 down.
Really?
Yeah.
So
that program just became available to us about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really good to know. Because I know a lot of people still think that it's the 20% down no matter what, right? But you're saying that there are a lot of programs. I mean, $1,000 down is pretty.
Yeah, I mean, for years we've been stuck with 3% down or 3.5% down of the price. And this one just came out. You do, you know, you have to meet the other requirements.
Of course.
But I'd be happy to share that with anybody if they want to contact me specifically. So.
Yeah.
So another question that we had a lot of people ask us is that Portland seems really expensive. What surrounding areas might be a good fit if I want a little more house for my money?
Yeah. Well, of course, so Central Portland has been pretty consistently appreciating pretty quickly over time. But actually, there are still a ton of affordable areas that you can buy your first home in. Generally speaking, the further out from the city center you get, the more affordable the area is going to be. The east side tends to be a little less expensive than the suburbs on the west side often because of the proximity to, say, Intel, Nike, places like that. So honestly, there are actually still a lot of affordable areas. Gresham, Vancouver, Canby, Scappoose. There are a ton of places that are still really affordable for first-time home buyers right now. So I would say just if you want to live, at 7th and Salmon, maybe you might need to bring a little more. But if you're willing to go out a little bit farther, there's actually a ton of options for you and a lot of remodels out in that area because investors are seeing the potential because the neighborhoods are building so much. And they're seeing that in the next few years, those neighborhoods are going to become more and more built up, like FOPO, for a perfect example. FOPO a few years ago was affordable and it's getting less and less so because a lot of really cool new businesses are moving in. And now
what's FOPO in case for
Foster Powell neighborhood on the east side that's my neck of the woods. And I mean, we just have a ton of new amazing businesses moving in, and we're just seeing the property values there just climb. So always a good idea to get into those neighborhoods before they have all the little cool boutique shops and everything. So
so it doesn't look like we got any new questions, but you are always welcome to reach out to any of us. You can reach out to us on the Facebook page. We're also on Instagram. You can send us an email or phone number. All my contact information is on Facebook. We can forward it over to Larry if you have specific lender-based questions, but we're definitely here to help you. And as promised, for anyone that was here live, we've got a really nice treat for you. So check your messenger inbox, and we'll have that for you shortly.
Perfect. Sounds good. And thank you, Larry, again, for sitting down and answering all those questions for us. That was super helpful on the financial side of things. And again, if you ever want to just sit down and have a cup of coffee with any of us or a glass of wine, or just jump on a quick phone call, we're always available. So feel free to reach out.
Have a great night, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.